What's going on, everybody? This is Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast. This is odds.com, and this is the post-weigh-in recap. I have watched these fighters step on the scale for UFC Vegas 20. I have watched the body language. I've watched their eyes. I've tried to catch every little detail, and I'm about to go into it right now for you all. This is our last little nugget of information, our last opportunity to find out anything we want to know about these men and women before they step into the cage tomorrow, and it gives us an opportunity to find just a little bit of extra value when it comes to a betting perspective. So let's roll on through this card and see what we've got to talk about this week. First up, we've got Dustin Jacoby taking on Maxine Grishin. Jacoby came in 204.5, and he looked in crazy good shape. Abs for days. This guy is locked and loaded, ready to go. Maxine Grishin missed weight by a solid 4.5 pounds. Dude came in at 210. 210.5. Big miss. He was apologetic on the scale, but you know what? He looked absolutely jacked. He did not look like a man who sucked himself dry. He did not look exhausted. He reminded me exactly of Jared Gordon last week, where we talked about how this would be an advantage as opposed to a disadvantage because he didn't struggle to get himself all the way down there. Now, when these guys faced off, it's a respectful face-off. They actually size up pretty well. Jacoby is a big guy himself. Grishin, just a slight thickness advantage here. And this is a spot where I've been trying to wrap my head around this fight all week. I leaned to Dustin Jacoby. He's the much slicker striker in there. But with the small cage in the apex, Grishin being able to tie his opponents up, pin him against the fence, just grapple and grind on his opponents, that's gotta be the game plan. And with someone like Maxine Grishin, who is not out of place at heavyweight, coming in 5 pounds over, he's gonna have extra gas, he's gonna have extra weight, extra water around his brain, he's gonna be heavier, thicker, stronger than he should be in the cage. Jeez, like I just don't know what to do. I was thinking about Jacoby inside the distance earlier in the week, and now the more that I look at it, the more I think that Grishin's going to put up a fight. The look that I have on this one, I'm considering the over 2.5. We've got the total set at 2.5. Over is about minus 250 right now. Under is even money or minus 105. And I'm sorry, not 250, 125. Jeez, got that one way off. Over 2.5 is minus 125. The under plus 100 or minus 105. So it's just ever so slightly juiced to the over, because I think this is a spot where as long as Grishin doesn't let his legs get just chopped to death in the very first round, if he's able to, get the grappling going, wear on Jacoby, this one probably gets late. These are big men. They both probably start to slow down, tire just a little bit. And Grishin is durable. I mean, he has been finished before, but it's been quite some time since that's happened. And Jacoby is not an all-star. I mean, he's a slick striker, but he is no stranger to decisions. It's not like he's a first-round knockout all-the-time type of guy. So maybe the over is the look in this spot. I'm really struggling. It's a low-level fight. I don't really know that Maxine Grishin wins, but if he does, it's more than likely going to be a late finish in like the third round when Jacoby gasses out, or it'll be a decision because he's pinning him up against the fence and dragging him as deep as he possibly can. The over 2.5 is maybe the best look I've got on this one. I'm not sure if I'm going to make that play because there's a lot of really sketchy spots on this entire card. Moving on, we've got Vince Cachero taking on Ronnie Lawrence. Both guys came in at 135.5. Cachero absolutely ripped up, shredded on the scale, looks good. Ronnie Lawrence looked good as well, no issues. He's got a little bit more of a slim build on him. He's a little bit taller. Very respectful face-off. No heat between these guys or anything like that. I'm on the underdog. I've rolled the dice on Vince Cachero. I think he has yet to show what he's fully capable of, but he's going to have to deal with the wrestling onslaught of Ronnie Lawrence and be able to defend those takedowns, mix in the striking, and steal a win on the judges' scorecards, in my opinion. So we'll see how that one pans out. I'm a little nervous about it, but hey, the bet's already made, so what are you going to do? Nothing to report for the post-weigh-in show. Alexis Davis taking on Sabina Mazo. Davis came in at 135, and she was in amazing shape. Now, she's got a history at 135, and this is a spot that I was looking very hard at Mazo, but seeing the condition that Davis came in, she is not taking this fight lightly. She is locked and loaded. She is ready to go. She looked extremely strong, extremely confident on the scales, and honestly, it made me a little bit nervous. Sabina Mazo came in at 135.5. She looked excellent as well. Now, this is her first time up at 135, but she had a very distinct size advantage. She's much taller, much broader, longer. She's the bigger, younger fighter, and that's usually something I look to back. The only problem is she's minus 210, minus 225. I don't want to lay that number. It's her first foray into a new division. Davis has got a ton of experience, and she's hung with the best women in the world. So I took Mazo inside the distance a little earlier this week. It was 4-1, plus 400, and I kind of like that. It's just a half unit shot. It's just a sprinkle. Looking for the young girl to come in here and be able to take advantage of the more elder fighter and the wear and tear on her body. But Davis coming in rocked up the way she was. I'm a little bit nervous for Sabina. Sabina hasn't fought anybody this caliber, and she struggled with someone like Justine Quiche getting in her face, pushing her up against the fence, getting in her grill. That kind of pressure is something that Sabina does not deal with very well. And honestly, the more I look at it, the more I'm thinking that if this thing goes all three, if she doesn't get the finish, then there's a chance Alexis Davis pulls the outright upset here. I don't know that Sabina Mazo in the small cage is going to be able to stick and move and use her advanced striking to be able to score a win without finishing someone like Davis. And Davis, she's been knocked out 3 times, but it's been a long, long time. It's been since Ronda Rousey all the way back in 2014 that she actually went down. So this is another one that really has just got me spooked. I've got my little sprinkle on Mazo. I like that, but the fire I saw in Alexis Davis's eyes is something that I pay attention to, and that's something that has me very interested at this point in time. Alexis Davis is already a plus 175 favorite, underdog, a plus 175 underdog, and for Davis to win by decision, I'm trying to look that up here real quick and see what that would look like, because really, decision or submission is her only path to victory, and she hasn't submitted anybody since Sarah Kaufman in 2015. So it would take a huge stumble from someone like Sabina Mazo to get submitted here in this spot. I don't know that that's going to happen, but hey, if she gets bullied around the cage for a full 15 minutes, you never know what she's going to cough up here at the end. All right, I'm doing it live, and I apologize. I can't seem to find the decision prop. It's listed here somewhere, but I've only got one hand to look for it. You've got to expect that it's going to be, there it is, Davis by decision, plus 240, plus 250. That's not a bad line. That's not a bad spot. If this is going to be a close, hairy split decision, if it makes it to the judges' scorecards, Davis by decision at plus 250, not necessarily a bad spot. So I'm still, I'm locked in already. I've got my half unit sprinkle on the favorite Mazo, the younger fighter here, looking for the finish. But at this point in time, I'm a little more interested in the Davis side of things. So yeah, another one that's got me spooked because of just how good Davis looked on the scales. Next up at lightweight, Alexander Hernandez taking on Thiago Moises. Both guys came in looking pretty good. Alexander Hernandez came in at 156. He needed the box of shame. This guy is always in absolutely incredible shape, stacked full of muscle, and he needed the box of shame to go ahead and get the skivvies off and weigh in at 156. But he got there. He made it. Thiago Moises came in at 155.5, and he looked solid. He's always in great shape. This guy's a professional. He knows what he's doing. When they faced off, Alexander Hernandez is much bigger and much thicker than Thiago Moises, and I was kind of expecting Moises maybe to be a little bit lankier, skinnier, and have the height advantage, but he has neither the height or thickness advantage in this spot. Both guys were smiling, they were joking, which is a little out of character there for Anthony Hernandez. We're so used to him talking trash and trying to get into his opponent's heads, trying to be a McGregor 2.0, and he seemed like he was just having fun with Moises up there today. I'm very interested in this fight because I'm in the boat of not wanting to write off Alexander Hernandez. I think him moving to a newer gym, getting world-class training partners and coaches, I think that's going to pay off huge in his career, and I think he turns a corner here. The only problem is I don't want to pay minus 200 or minus 225 to see it. I think he's probably going to win this fight, but Thiago Moises is not someone that you just walk through. He's not somebody that you just roll over, and he looks like he's ready to go as well. We have seen Alexander Hernandez slow down, get tired late in fights. That's got to be something he patched up. That has to be something that he patched up for this fight to go his way. And if it didn't, I can see Thiago Moises making the fight, maybe even getting a finish in the third round, because with that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, if Hernandez gets sloppy, if he shoots for a bad takedown, if he engages in the grappling late in the fight, he's going to be in trouble. He's going to be in trouble. So I can't touch it. I'm not going to touch this one. Alexander Hernandez by decision is kind of the way that I'm looking, but that's like even money, and I don't like that spot either. I wouldn't want to do that because both Moises and Hernandez are absolutely capable of finishing the fight if it gets into their world. So this one could finish early. It could go the entire way. It could be close. It could be hairy. It could be dominant. This one, there's a lot of ways this fight can go, guys. I would suggest you passing and just watching for this one. Fireball and popcorn, baby. Alexander Caceres taking on Kevin Croom. Caceres came in at 146, looked in good shape, standard, your everyday weigh-in. This guy has done this a million times before. He's ready to go. Kevin Croom came in at 145.5, and he was shredded, and I mean shredded when he got up on the scale. Now, when they faced off, Croom brought all of his ninja tools. He had his bow staff, he had his nunchucks. Like, this guy is a character, and I love it. For some reason, though, Alex decided to stay 10 feet away from him. You got to wonder if... a fight got pulled from this card. Alex Oliveira is no longer on the card because his opponent got pulled off for doctor's reasons. They didn't tell us exactly why. You got to wonder if there's like a mini COVID outbreak or something, because Caceres stayed way away from Kevin Croom. Wanted nothing to do with it. So it was kind of hard to get a read on this face-off. They didn't really lock eyes. They didn't get in each other's faces. Kevin Croom was just kind of shooting the shit with Dana White. So not really the type of read that I like to pull from. Not a lot here. I'm on the underdog. I like Kevin Croom here, but that's a very popular underdog pick, and got to tell you guys, that always makes me nervous. Whenever everybody's on the same underdog, it's not a good thing. So I'm a little bit nervous here, but again, we beat the line move. We got the best of the number. That's all we can do in sports betting, and now it's up to our boy Kevin Croom to get it done on Saturday. Angela Hill taking on Ashley Yoder. Both women came in at 116. Hill, excellent shape, relaxed, much like Caceres. She's done this a million times. She's ready to go. Ashley Yoder is another one who needed the box of shame, however, and she had to go so far as to take off her mask. Now, I know that may not sound like a big deal, but with today's COVID protocols, you got to keep your mask on when you're on the scales at all times, and it was at the point that she was buck naked inside the box of shame, and they asked her to hand the mask over to see if that made the difference, and it did. So she had to get all the way down past the mask to make 116, but she got there. Now, she didn't look like she was drained. She looked in excellent condition. In fact, yesterday I tweeted a picture from her Instagram showing just what kind of shape she is in. It looks like Yoder has put on some muscle. It looks like she's taken this camp very, very seriously. And once again, I'm just looking at this going, this line is way too wide. I mean, I expect Angela Hill to win the fight, but minus 400, like that's just a lot. She gets taken down a lot. Yoder looks to have put some muscle on, and she's a grappler. She's a BJJ black belt. You know she's going to get Hill on the floor, and she's going to get her on the floor early. The question will be, can she keep her there, and can she keep that up for 15 minutes? The way I'm kind of thinking here is maybe I'll take a round 3 sprinkle on Angela Hill, because if Yoder had any type of a bad weight cut, if she's added muscle, if she's trying to force the grappling and engagement for 15 minutes, and Hill is just able to keep off of her, survive, defend, stand up, make her work the entire time, we could see Ashley Yoder slow down late. We could absolutely see Yoder slow down late, and if she does, Hill is looking to keep this out of the judge's hands. She said in an interview just yesterday that her biggest issue, her biggest concern is getting robbed by the judges. It's happened too many times, and she does not want to leave this one in the hands of the judges. So I wasn't planning on necessarily betting this fight because I hate how wide the line is, and I think that the value is going to be on Yoder, but I think that round 3 finish prop is totally in play. And I talked before about the total. You know, it's a foregone conclusion that this thing is going over. The under 2.5 is plus 285 in this spot, plus 300 in some places. And that might be a spot where I actually take a little bit of a stab, because if we're to believe Angela Hill that she actually wants to keep this out of the hands of the judges, she's going to go hard. And that's going to do one of two things. Either she's going to go hard and she's going to get Ashley Yoder out of there, or she's going to go hard and make a mistake. And if she makes a mistake and ends up on the floor, Yoder could absolutely snap something off on her, because she's going to have the grappling advantage. So all of a sudden, this under 2.5 is something that I'm a little bit more interested in. So I'm going to take a look at that closely. The round 3 Angela Hill sprinkle, that may be the way that I want to go ahead and go, because she might get desperate looking to keep it from going all 15 if we get into that third round. Maybe a spot that I'm interested at this point. We'll see. We've got Jimmie Rivera taking on Pedro Munhoz coming up next. Both guys came in at 135.5. Pedro Munhoz, absolute little tank, this guy. Same thing could be said for Jimmie Rivera. These guys are both short little animals. And Munhoz came in excellent shape. He did bring his drink with him. I want to note that. I've talked about that before, that a lot of times when people start the rehydration immediately as soon as they step off the scale, that's a sign of a poor weight cut. That's a sign of really needing to reload immediately. The only thing in this case is that it wasn't a desperate attempt. He got his stuff, he picked up his things, he grabbed his drink, he took a swig. It was not like, there was a read that we had some months ago where one of the city kickboxing boys actually like ran to his coach, who was waiting for him, holding the drink out to him for him to chug before he left the stage because it was that bad. That's the kind of thing I'm looking for. Munhoz just sipping on his protein shake as he leaves the stage. That's not it. So it may have been a tough cut for him, but it's always a tough cut for him. So I'm not looking too deep into that. Jimmie Rivera broke the cardinal rule. Bro got on stage with his sunglasses on. I say it every time. I hate it. And it makes me upset because I can't see the window to the soul. I can't read what these people are feeling inside because I can't see their face and I can't see their eyes. And honestly, I feel like that may have been intentional. He got off the scale with a purpose. He got up there, raised his hand for one picture, and usually they make them hold for 5 to 10 seconds. He booked it. He was out of there before anybody could say anything about him being on the scale a second longer. And honestly, that's something that's got me questioning just a little bit. Y'all know I've been back and forth on this fight all week. The last time this fight was booked, I was on Pedro Munhoz. I got a lot of crap for it. And then I kind of flipped over after talking to some people to Jimmie Rivera. And I decided I'm going to pass on this fight because if Munhoz somehow manages to pull off this win, and I put money on Jimmie Rivera after flip-flopping on this read and not trusting myself and not trusting my own instincts, I'd throw something. I'd throw my TV. I'd be so mad that I went from winning to passing to losing. It would just absolutely destroy me. And now after seeing what I saw on the scales, I'm kind of back in the Munhoz camp. This line is a little wide for me. Pedro Munhoz is up to 130 in some places now, and it's nothing but love for Jimmie Rivera across everybody. Everybody you listen to, Jimmie. And last time they fought to a split decision, folks. Last time it was insanely close. It was insanely competitive. And we've got a guy in Munhoz who's been training with some absolute beasts, and I've heard some people kind of discrediting Munhoz because of the Frankie Edgar situation, the fact that, you know, he didn't put away Frankie when he should have and he got robbed in that spot. I was on Frankie that weekend and I thought that fight was close and competitive, and I'm still kind of a believer at this weight class in Frankie Edgar. I think he's more durable, even though he just got knocked out. I think he's more durable than he was at the higher weight classes. He's the right size. He's in the right place. So I don't really credit that as poorly against Munhoz as maybe a lot of other people out there are. I don't know what to do with this one. I might end up flopping again and going back to Munhoz. He'll have to give me a follow on Twitter to see if I get stupid and pull the trigger on this one after going back and forth all week. But we really just need to stay off of this one at this point, because if anybody's hiding anything, if anybody's had a bad weight cut, it's Jimmie Rivera. And if Jimmie Rivera is at all struggling in this spot, Munhoz is coming in correct. He's gonna put it on him, and this fight is gonna be close. It's gonna be competitive. I see it going all 15 minutes. I don't see a finish necessarily taking place, but if somebody is gonna finish it, it would be Munhoz. He is taller. Rivera is thicker. They had a respectful face-off. This is like a couple bros getting together for a beer, hanging out again after the first fight that they had. And yeah, I'm kind of leaning back over onto the Munhoz side of things, so we'll see what happens. Montana De La Rosa taking on Mayra Bueno Silva. Montana De La Rosa came in at 126, no issues, looked good on the scales. I've been kind of eyeballing this one for a little bit. Mayra Bueno Silva came in at 125.5, and just standard. She looked good as well. She did the Superman pose that she does on the scale, and she pulled the same crap that Alex Caceres did. She took her pose and she stood 5 feet away from Dana White, didn't let Montana De La Rosa get anywhere near her. The thing that kind of surprised me, though, was Silva is a decent bit bigger than I expected. I thought these two were going to be toe-to-toe. I thought they were going to be eye-to-eye, and it looked like Silva has a little bit of a size advantage. Now, we talked about the grappling. We talked about how De La Rosa is the stronger wrestler. I think she's got better boxing. And then Bueno Silva, she's a hard hitter on the feet, but mostly kicking attacks that I think De La Rosa will be able to take advantage of. But that size difference has me pause just a little bit, because once they get into the ground scrambles, once they get into the ground transitions, that's when that size advantage is going to become a big deal. That's when she'll be able to handle someone like Montana De La Rosa, who maybe gives up one bad position or she messes up with one takedown. You know, that size and strength will be able to be something that causes a reversal of positions, puts her in a bad spot, opens up a submission. So I'm a little nervous about this one. I've been saying all week that I'm going to go on Montana De La Rosa. I'm looking for the line to peak. I want to get the best number I possibly can. And honestly, it looks like it's done that. There's a little bit of market buyback on Montana De La Rosa. I think plus 120, plus 125 is as high as she's gotten. And every single time it gets up there, it gets pounded back the other direction. So I'm tempted to buy in on the dog. This is a spot that I've been looking at all week. It's a spot that I had every intention to bet, and I told everybody I was going to bet. I kind of feel like I need to stick to that and go ahead and stick to my word and pull the trigger on Montana De La Rosa here. But again, it's a very close and hairy fight. Very, very competitive. It's gonna be a tough one. Co-main event, Nikita Krylov taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Both men came in at 205.5, and both men were just rock solid. Absolutely shredded, stacked muscles. These guys are going to go to war, and they size up extremely well. Krylov is able to stand toe-to-toe with Ankalaev. Ankalaev does not have any type of a size or strength advantage here in this spot, and y'all know I'm on the over. I'm on the over 1.5 here. I paid the minus 150 to get there, and I've got a little sprinkle. 1 unit shot, Magomed Ankalaev by decision at plus 275, because Nikita Krylov has only been knocked out once in his entire career, and that was at heavyweight. So if he's able to engage in the grappling, if he's able to be durable and be defensive the way we've seen him before, I think this fight goes long, and I think that if anything, he survives to the judges' scorecards, and then Magomed Ankalaev gets himself a decision victory. We've seen him get all 3 rounds before, so it's not like he's only a 1-round guy. We've seen him go long, especially with grapplers, when he's a little more cautious of the takedown, and I think Krylov is the type of guy that's going to make him cautious of that takedown. So, again, nervous because these guys could end the fight at any moment. Krylov could get in on a big double leg and get this thing to the floor and end this thing in the very first round, and I lose both bets. That would be worst case scenario, but it's totally possible because this is a dang good fight. These guys are matched up extremely well. I just hope it gets late into the fight for me. Main event time, Jairzinho Rozenstruik taking on Ciryl Gane. We've got Jairzinho coming in at 254.5. Classic biggie boy. He's big, he's thick, he's strong. Ciryl Gane, 247. And this guy is just insanely jacked. He's a freak of nature. Very much like Francis Ngannou. This guy is a physical freak and specimen that it's just not fair. It's not fair. When they faced off, I mean, Gane's got a big size advantage. We knew that was coming. Jairzinho Rozenstruik is a little bit on the smaller side for heavyweights, but he's got that, big, thick bottom base. He's a heavy dude. He sits heavy on his punches, and he hits extremely hard. He's got the death touch. Ciryl Gane is going to have to be ready for that and be ready to deal with that. You got to think Ciryl Gane is going to look to grapple, but we've seen grapplers get clipped in this small cage before, so I took the shot on Rozenstruik earlier in the week. He was about plus 225, plus 230, I think. And now he's down around plus 210, plus 200 market wide. So once again, we beat the line movement. But the size advantage of Ciryl Gane has got me a little bit spooked. I'm nervous for this one. And I want to bet the over 2.5. That's kind of the spot that I'm looking at. That's a pick'em. It's even money for this thing to go over. I do think this one gets later. Once again, kind of like the Krylov and Ankalaev spot where these guys are going to respect each other. They're going to have to stay safe. They're going to have to stay cautious. We've seen Rozenstruik get in bad positions before and then get back up to his feet and continue working in that area. So unless Jairzinho takes him down, unless Gane takes him down and gets a round 1 submission, or unless Rozenstruik finds the button and finds it early, which considering how defensively sound Ciryl Gane is in the striking area, I don't see that necessarily happening. I do think this fight gets into the 3rd round. I do think this fight gets into the championship rounds. And heck, this one's got a shot to make it all the way to the judges' scorecards. So I'm tempted to play the overs on the main event, but I do at this point have a shot on Jairzinho Rozenstruik because I just think this is a big step up in competition for Gane, even though he's got the physical advantages. Jairzinho Rozenstruik has all the experience advantages, and all that's going to come to play here on Saturday. So that's where I'm at, folks. I'll be completely honest with you. This is not a great card. There are not a lot of really good spots. I've taken a couple of shots. I half hate all of them at this point. It's a very, very evenly matched card, and all the spots that I've taken have been on very close underdogs, which I feel like that's the value side because these are pick'em type of fights. But that means that you're flipping a coin. That little bit of value, that 2 cents or 25 cents of value that you're getting on these ones, those can go against you in a coin flip situation. I like the sides I'm on from a value betting perspective, but these fights are going to be close, they're going to be hairy, and we're going to need some run good on Saturday. So that's the read. Unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot to talk about from the post-weigh-in recap because Alex Oliveira was a spot I was interested in, but I needed to see how they looked on the scales and how both guys weighed in. His opponent got pulled for doctor's reasons, so that fight is completely off the card, and I have nothing to give there. And then really the only thing that's happened that's reinforced anything for me is that I need to stay off of fights, because the people I was looking to fade, the people I was hoping to get a read on that they didn't look good, that something was off with them, that something was wrong with them, they look incredible. They all came on point. So it's really caused a bit of a problem for me this weekend. So not a whole lot of activity here on the post-weigh-in show. I do apologize for that. I'm planning on betting Montana De La Rosa. I did say I was going to do that from the get-go, so I'm going to hold true to my word. I'm going to try and get that plus 120 if it's still floating out there, and maybe a couple of overs, but that's about it at this point. Good luck on all your action. Feel free to hit me up at Die Hard MMA Pod on Twitter, and I hope we all cash another one. Let's roll.